Welcome back, everybody, and I hope you enjoy your lunch. Please do that. We're going to start introducing our dignitaries today, and my goodness, look around the room. There are so many dignitaries here. There's a whole bunch of them. How do we do that? How do we do it and applaud and do everything? Well, we have a plan, and it's an old plan, and it's one that, again, I'm glad that former Supervisor Tom Wilson is here because he has the famous one clap. And that's what we're going to do here today. So as we introduce each of our elected officials, I'm going to say their name, their title, and we're going to give one clap. Sound good? Sound good? Let's practice it. Let's say, Orange County 5th District Supervisor Lisa Bartlett. You guys are experts. You guys are experts. We're going to continue going with that. So now, let's do it one more time because she is our guest of honor. Orange County 5th District Supervisor Lisa Bartlett. The Honorable Tom Wilson. From Dana Point, the Honorable Joe Miller. From the City of Lake Forest, the Honorable Mark Tedmer. From Laguna Hills, the Honorable Janine Heft. From Laguna Hills, the Honorable Don Caskey. You guys are doing great. Keep that up. From our host city, the City of Laguna Niguel, the Honorable Mayor Elaine Genoway, the Honorable Sandy Raines, the Honorable Kelly Jennings. From Newport Beach, the Honorable Diane Dixon. From San Clemente, the Honorable Steve Knobloch. From the City of Rancho Santa Margarita, the Honorable Ann Figueroa. From the Molten Niguel Water District, the Honorable Dick Fiore. The Honorable Don Froelich. The Honorable Bill Moorhead. The Honorable Sherry Waninger. And me, the Honorable Dwayne Cave. From the Santa Margarita Water Districts, we have the Honorable Justin McCusker. South Coast Water District, we have the Honorable Doug Erdman. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is our elected officials for today. Great job. Let's give them all a big hand. See that, Tom? It still works pretty good, doesn't it? Works excellent. Very good. Now, how could we have pulled this off without our sponsors? So I'd like to give our sponsors a round of applause as we go through. So our diamond sponsors for today, Dana Point Harbor Partners and Memorial Care Saddleback Medical Center. Our platinum sponsors for today, CR&R Environmental Services, Rancho Mission Viejo, Southern California Edison, San Diego Gas and Electric, the University of California Irvine, UCI Health, and Waste Management. And our gold sponsors for today are the California Apartment Association, Cox Communications, Jim Murray Roofing, Laguna Niguel City Center Partners, Merlone Geyer Partners, and West Coast Arborist. Let's give them all a round of applause. And then again, a program like this is really a joint effort for all of our chambers of commerce throughout the fabulous 5th District, and so we'd like to thank them. First, we'd like to thank the participating chambers that worked so hard to get you all here today. It's the South Orange County Economic Coalition and the Chambers of Commerce of Dana Point, Newport Beach, Ladera Rancho, Laguna Hills, and Laguna Niguel, with support from the Chambers of Commerce of Aliso Viejo, Costa Mesa, Irvine, Laguna Beach, San Clemente, and San Juan Capistrano. Let's give all of them a round of applause. And you know, wrangling all those chambers are not easy, and it takes a lot of work. And so I just want to point out two people that did an exceptional job on this. One is from the 5th District, is Sergio Prince. Sergio? And Victoria Hernandez from the South Orange County Economic Coalition. Great job. So I hope you really enjoyed today. It's going to be great fun. I'm looking forward to hearing a state of the fifth county. And to do that, I'm going to at this time invite Mike Balsamo, who's the chair of the South Orange County Economic Coalition, to please come up and introduce our supervisor.
Good afternoon, everyone. Great job, Dwayne. Thank you for bringing the energy like you always do. Really appreciate it. It's great to see everyone. So many familiar faces here. I just want to talk for a few minutes about Supervisor Bartlett before she comes up, because I've had the privilege of working with her for many years in a number of different capacities, and I've always enjoyed that opportunity. But many of you know she's been two-term supervisor. She was the chair of the board multiple times. She was also the mayor of Dana Point. And a council member for a number of years. She served as the chair of the Transportation Corridor Agency, the Orange County Transportation Authority. I mean, the number of boards and so forth that she's involved with is incredible over the years. And I just want to talk about some of the observations that I've made in watching her work in the time that she's been our supervisor down here in South County. And the first thing I just wanted to say is her commitment is second to none. I mean, she works her tail off for this constituency here, and that means I don't think she ever missed a board meeting in all the years she was on the board. She's at every chamber event she can possibly get to, charitable events, weekends, nights, all the time. She never mailed it in. She worked her butt off for this community, and we really appreciate that, Lisa. The second area I found is her practicality and her focus on working with the business community, looking for public-private partnerships. I'm sure she'll touch on that when she comes up, but certainly as the harbor activity gets going here, and then even with Rancho Mission Viejo, with our development, most of the public infrastructure down at Rancho Mission Viejo, we build it, then the county accepts it, or the school district, or whatever the case may be, fire authority. And Supervisor Bartlett has been supportive of kind of capitalizing on the best that the private sector and the business community can bring to help the public sector and to help the community that we all live in. She's empathetic, and a couple of examples that I would point out on that, the Be Well OC campus that was built, and a number of different homeless shelters that have been, or mental health facilities, and this is in central North County. But to the extent that we are able to achieve these facilities, it takes pressure off the entire county in terms of dealing with the homeless crisis that we have. She stepped up bravely and helped push those projects across the finish line with her colleagues on the Board of Supervisors. And that's not an easy thing. Nobody wants a shelter in their community, unfortunately, but we have to deal with this issue going forward. And she was directly involved. Another thing was the animal shelter in Lake Forest, I believe it was. Tustin, I'm sorry, excuse me. She was involved with the animal shelter, and I know less about that one, but again, it shows her concern for the community. And lastly, really, her class and professionalism to me has been unparalleled. I mean, and really during the pandemic, I watched the board meetings on the online system, and whatever side of the issue you are, whatever your party affiliation is, that issue was polarizing for not only Orange County and California, but the whole country. And some of the commentary that would occur at the board meetings was downright awful. She never lost her cool, never retaliated at any of the public speakers or any of her colleagues, just composed at all times. And I think that civility is something that we need to keep working on as a society. She's been a leader that way, and I think we're going to miss her leadership at the county as her term comes to an end here. I just want to thank her for all of her effort. So, Lisa, welcome to the stage.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. And I know that this podium is from the city of Laguna Niguel, and it was built special for Elaine Genoway, and I like it too. I may take it with me. It's got a step that pulls out. So, on a lot of podiums when I speak, you can see like from here up, and this is absolutely phenomenal. So, great job, Laguna Niguel. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Lisa Bartlett, your 5th District Supervisor. And just want to welcome everyone to the state of the 5th District. Before we begin, I want to we have a lot of thank yous to give, and I want to thank the South Orange County Economic Coalition and the Chambers of Commerce for Dana Point, Newport Beach, Ladera Ranch, Laguna Hills, Laguna Niguel, et cetera, for helping to coordinate today's event. It really takes a lot of stakeholders coming together. And I can tell you that the Chambers of Commerce, that are really the heartbeat and the fabric of the community in every single city, are so important. And I'm really grateful for their efforts, and it's been a great partnership. It just seems like yesterday when I got elected to the Board of Supervisors, and here it is at the kind of the tail end of my 8th year. It goes by very quickly. And I also want to thank the City of Laguna Niguel for hosting today's event in their beautiful new facility. I also want to acknowledge and thank all of the elected officials and their staff for their continued support and collaboration and your attendance here today. I think we have a sold-out crowd, which is wonderful. And a special thank you to former Supervisor Tom Wilson. Tom's been a good friend and a great mentor for me. When things came up, I would give him a call and kind of take his temperature on things, and he always had very sage advice. I want to introduce and recognize my board staff. I work very hard at the county every single day. I'm really passionate about public service, and people who know me know I pour my heart and soul into everything that I do. But I could not do that without my board office staff. They are such a critical and essential component for making me look good, helping me do my job well, and I always hire good policy-focused individuals. So just raise your hand when I call your name. James Dinwiddie, my Chief of Staff. Yasi Gabel, our Deputy Chief of Staff. Pauline Colvin, Communications Director. Nicole Garcia, Policy Advisor. Sergio Prince, Community Relations Advisor. Kristen Albwig, the Policy Advisor. Rosemary Contreras, the Executive Assistant and Office Manager. Vasila Ahmad, the Policy Aide, and Don Camber, the Field Representative. Again, just give my staff a round of applause. They have worked so hard and worked with me these past years. So it's a great pleasure to present this year's State of the 5th District address, and I'm proud to report that the State of the 5th District, as well as the County of Orange, is very, very strong. We've gotten through this COVID pandemic and coming back really stronger than ever, and I'm just really proud of all 18,000 employees we have at the county that have pulled together to make sure that our departments are well run and that we work with our communities, our 34 cities within the county. So when we talk about the COVID pandemic response, the past couple years have been challenging for all of us, and we had to navigate through a lot of uncharted waters due to this global pandemic. This is the first global pandemic I've had to deal with in my lifetime, and probably the same for all of you. The pandemic redefined how we do business and how we went about our daily lives. While we continue to emerge from this unprecedented event, I want to highlight some of the actions the county took to protect the health and safety of residents and support our local business community. In 2021, the county leveraged the CARES Act and the ARPA funds, and we provided a myriad of services to the community, including free regional testing sites, medical and protective supplies and equipment, meals and shelter for vulnerable populations, allocations to cities, hospitals, clinics, and grants to small businesses and nonprofits. And we really pushed over $150 million out to the community at large. So raise your hand if you're a small business or if you're in the arts community or your restaurant and you received one of our county grants. So there are a lot of folks here that were recipients. And did that make a difference to you during the COVID pandemic? Probably did. A lot of people were able to keep their businesses open and keep people on the payroll, which was so important. In my district, we allocated $21 million in support specific to small businesses and nonprofits, provide child care relief for families, secure healthy and nutritious meals for seniors and veterans. We delivered iPads to train older adults so they could connect with telehealth providers, combat social isolation by staying in touch with family and friends, and participating in online senior programs. So as you know, during the COVID pandemic, a lot of seniors, they really were afraid to go out, even to the grocery store. And yet we wanted to make sure they were connected to their family and friends and could make medical appointments. And by having the iPad program where they could go and check out an iPad, it included training as well. And it allowed them to stay in contact with the real world. And I can tell you for a lot of seniors, that made a lot of difference getting through this COVID pandemic. We recently received confirmation from the federal government that the county will be receiving its second tranche of the ARPA funds in the amount of $308 million. Sounds like a lot of money, but for our size county, we are the 6th largest county in America, 3rd largest of the 58 counties in the state. And I've talked to our CEO and I thought, $308 million, we can do a lot with that. He goes, we've got a lot of general fund backfill because during the COVID pandemic, the counties actually had to outlay a lot of cash in order to get services and other things going. So this will be a lot of general fund backfill, but we will have some extra dollars, again, that will probably push out to grant programs. So stay engaged and we'll give some notifications when those programs come up. Well, we continue to emerge from the pandemic. I believe we've made it through the eye of the storm, and Orange County is poised to come back better and stronger than before. When we look back many years from now, I think there are going to be a lot of lessons learned from the initial response to the pandemic. Some of the strategies and mandates deployed had a devastating effect on families and small businesses. The pandemic also highlighted our resilience and reliance on other countries. Oh yes, because we were international. Reliance on other countries to manufacture items. So as you know, a lot of the face coverings and things were manufactured overseas and we had to bring them in. It included personal protective equipment, prescription drugs, and other medical equipment. It really highlights the sign to us, though, that we really need to bring manufacturing home and secure our own supply chain if we are going to mitigate these challenges in the future. So that was really one of the big lessons learned. When you have to rely outside of the United States to get things manufactured, and everybody at the same time around the world, because it was a global pandemic, we were all scouring the earth for protective equipment, and it was coming from certain areas that were across the globe from us. And we realized, wow, we really need to take control of our own destiny in the future and be able to bring a lot of that manufacturing back home. So moving on to public safety and law enforcement. Strengthening public safety and maintaining safe neighborhoods continues to be one of our top priorities, and that's government's #1 job, keeping the public safe. I always have been a really strong supporter and advocate of the men and women serving in our Orange County Sheriff's Department and the Orange County Fire Authority. Now more than ever, it's imperative that our public safety partners have the necessary tools and resources to carry out their duties in a manner that promotes public confidence, trust, transparency, and accountability. And that's why we supported the Sheriff's Department when they had a request for body-worn cameras. And we allocated about $14 million, most of that was in a grant, for body-worn cameras. And I'm confident that this technology will help improve the interactions between our deputy sheriffs and the public and capture evidentiary outcomes. Anything we can do to improve and enhance the judicial process and increase transparency and accountability is always a good thing. I'm really proud of the work being done by our sheriff's deputies when it comes to keeping our communities safe. They are constantly looking for new and innovative ways to strengthen public safety and create safer neighborhoods. Whether it's taking steps to proactively prevent crime, reducing the prevalence of drugs in our communities, enhancing school safety, or mitigating the impacts of homelessness, they are always focused on being ahead of the game. On the screen above, you'll see a list of some of the Sheriff's Department's accomplishments for 2021. They responded to over 480,000 calls for service, created a behavioral health bureau, and enhanced their psychiatric emergency response team, booked over 35,000 inmates into the county jail, and seized thousands of pounds of illicit drugs. And speaking of drugs, I am deeply concerned that the fentanyl use and exposure continues to be a public health risk. When you take a look at what's happening in our communities, the numbers and percentages are really staggering. From 2016 to 2020, fentanyl-related deaths in Orange County increased 1,100%, and statewide, they increased 1,600%. From 2017 to 2020, the Orange County Sheriff's Department seized over 388 pounds of fentanyl, which potentially contained 88 million lethal doses and had a total street value of $43 million. The Orange County Register recently reported that last year, fentanyl deaths accounted for roughly 75% of all drug-caused deaths. And it takes just such a minute amount of fentanyl to be lethal. And people out there, whether it's the homeless population or people that are getting access to illicit drugs, they might think they're buying, Oxycontin or Xanax, and they don't even realize it's laced with fentanyl, and they take it and they die. And that's really unfortunate. So we do have a major campaign going on at the county to really tell the public, don't take illicit drugs because you don't even know what's in them, and it could cost you your life. In March, my colleagues and I joined law enforcement in this commitment to eliminate the threat of fentanyl in Orange County. And we are committed to devoting resources to the interdiction of narcotics and to increasing public awareness. We need to have harsher penalties for drug dealers who sell, furnish, or distribute drugs to someone who dies from using these drugs, including being charged with murder. So I know that our Sheriff's Department and our District Attorney's Office are really laser focused on not only apprehending these criminals, these drug dealers, but also prosecuting them. So we're going to take a zero tolerance policy here in our county. At our last board meeting, as part of our budget update, my colleagues and I approved a request from the district attorney to add a deputy district attorney position to the budget. And this position will work hand in hand with the U.S. Attorney's Office to specifically investigate and prosecute crimes related to fentanyl trafficking. Make no mistake, the death and destruction caused by fentanyl really knows no boundaries. It doesn't care if you're young or old, rich or poor, Republican or Democrat. The poison pill is wreaking havoc on families and devastating communities, and it's really got to stop. This is one of our number one concerns on drugs at the county. I ask all cities, if you haven't already done so, to join the county and the Sheriff's Department in supporting this effort. By working together and supporting law enforcement, we can put a stop to the threat that is plaguing our communities. Moving on to another really hot topic, but one that is coming into focus because of what the state is doing, has to do with the sexually violent predators. So this is another disturbing issue that is the threat posed by sexually violent predators. And unlike a regular sex offender, a sexually violent predator is an individual who's been convicted of a sexually violent offense against one or more victims, but who has also been diagnosed with a mental disorder that makes the person a danger to the health and safety of others, and who will likely engage in sexually violent criminal behavior. So when it comes to the state, earlier this year, the board supported a proposal that I brought forward with one of my other colleagues to oppose the placement of sexually violent predators in Orange County. I think that residents and communities have a right to live in a safe environment. Currently, the state has the sole authority to place sexually violent predators in communities, and the burden is then placed on counties to process, if needed, to locate secure housing for these individuals that have been convicted of a sexually violent crime. Law enforcement is provided notice, but here's the issue. No provision is made for counties to participate in the placement process or to object to the state's plans for placement. Local jurisdictions really should have the opportunity to weigh in on this process. I mean, if we're going to get these individuals to our community, the Board of Supervisors, the County of Orange, and the residents need to know what's coming. Currently, the good news is there are no sexually violent predators that have been placed in Orange County. Recently, though, there have been 5 sexually violent predators that were placed in San Diego County, where the county of San Diego had no say in the process. And that's where it kind of alerted us with a red flag that how can this happen, where the state can just plunk these individuals down in our community, and then we have to deal with things. Orange County has added this matter to its legislative agenda to keep on top of legislation so that we can advocate for legislative changes and ensure that we have an opportunity to participate in the process. We're also sending a letter to the state and the legislators expressing our strong opposition to the placement of these SVPs in our Orange County neighborhoods. So moving on to fire protection and prevention. On the fire protection and emergency services side of things, I want to acknowledge the great work done by the men and women of the Orange County Fire Authority, and that's one of the boards that I sit on as well. Large board, about 25 members. I'm extremely grateful for their support, especially during the COVID pandemic. Their partnership with the county was critical to the county's efforts to stand up the multiple super pods and the mobile pods and the fire department pods to administer testing and vaccinations literally to thousands of residents. On the firefighting front, wildland fire remains a significant threat to life and property in our state. Just a few months ago, we had the Emerald Fire in Laguna Beach, and we were able to get that under control very, very quickly. But fires, like earthquakes, they don't always come in the middle of the day where you've got great visibility and everybody's out and about. They happen at 4 in the morning, and that's where this fire occurred. So the visibility was not all that great. It was dark, but our teams out there did a fantastic job, and there was no loss to life or to homes. We only need to look back to February this year. We talked about the Emerald Fire. Moving on to the swift and rapid response of the Orange County Fire Authority and Laguna Beach. So assisting with all those regional partners, and we do that with the Emerald Fire and other fires. It's not just one entity that gets called into action. It's usually local, it's regional. We get helicopters, helitankers from Los Angeles County that come down. It's called mutual aid, and it makes a significant difference. And then when we have wildfires in Northern California, we get called up to Northern California to help them up there. So it's a great team effort where we collaborate together and help each other out to save our respective neighborhoods. So to combat the threat of wildfires, the Orange County Fire Authority has implemented 2 programs. One is the Quick Reaction Force pilot program, which is intended to enhance regional aerial wildfire response and is available 24 hours a day for daytime and nighttime firefighting. In addition, we have the Fire Integrated Real-Time Intelligence System program, which is designed to enhance regional wildfire situational awareness for first responders during the wildfire season. And when we talk about wildfire season, people think, oh, that's July to September. Not anymore. With the changes in Mother Nature, wildfire season is 12 months a year now, 365 days a year. It can come up at any time. But I'm confident that by continuing to leverage the experience, skills, and knowledge of our dedicated fire servicemen and women, coupled with emerging technologies, the OCFA will be better positioned when it comes to battling wildfires and protecting our communities. Now moving on to mental health. So recognizing that the month of May is Mental Health Awareness Month, I'd like to give you a brief update on what we're doing to help those struggling with mental health issues. We've got the Be Well OC campus, which is 96 beds, and that's on Anita Street in Orange. And we know that many people are trying to maintain good mental health, but sometimes they can really struggle. And for a long time, there's been nowhere to go, and nobody really wanted to talk about it. To address the myriad of issues associated with mental health, I was proud to spearhead the efforts to develop the county's first regional mental health and wellness campus, and it's called Be Well OC. The innovation solution that we brought together included public, private, academic, and faith-based partners to create a community-wide coordinated ecosystem to support optimal mental health for all Orange County residents, regardless of their ability to pay. So that's something we really want to stress. This particular campus, 96 beds in Orange, it doesn't matter whether you're a homeless person or you've got the best PPO health insurance. Anyone is eligible to go there. Now we've got 3.2 million people in Orange County, so you can't all go there at the same time. But when you take a look at our size county, we should have 1,500 in-hospital beds for mental health, and we've got about 400, so we really need to augment that. So we have 96 beds in Orange. We're going to have another opening of a much more expanded campus with hundreds of beds, and that will be in Irvine. And then we have a North County campus that will be set up sometime in the future. So building out this ecosystem for mental and behavioral health is going to be really great for our county. This campus has been a tremendous success since its opening. It's about at 90-some% capacity all the time. And we've also requested some federal funding to help with the construction and of our next campus that we're going to be opening. These are very expensive to open. The first campus was about $42 million. And that was a collaboration between the hospitals, the county, and CalOptima, which is our county organized health system. So moving on to housing and homelessness. With regard to homelessness, this continues to be a major crisis for cities and counties up and down the state. Every single county is grappling with homelessness, and all 3,069 counties across the nation are grappling with homelessness. But I believe a key to finding a solution to homelessness is not just providing just a shelter, but we have to provide those essential wraparound services, the mental and behavioral health services, for instance, for those who need and want that to get back on their feet. Orange County continues to make headway on its goal of developing 2,700 supporting housing units over a 6-year period. And the slide shows that we've made progress, great progress so far. We still have a ways to go, but the fact that we've got many, many units online, some units completed online, and for future as well, we've made great progress over the last couple of years. 2 of these supportive housing projects right here in my district are in San Juan Capistrano, the Paseo Adelanto project, which just received board approval for funding, and the Groves project, which is currently under construction and scheduled for completion later this month. There was something at the state level that came out during the COVID pandemic, and it was called Project Home Key. So let's talk a little bit about that for a moment. In the first round of Project Home Key, $800 million in grant funding was made available to purchase and rehabilitate hotels, motels, and vacant apartment buildings so they could be converted to interim or permanent long-term housing. We did not get the $800 million, but we did get $20.5 million, and we put that to good use. We acquired, and now we're operating in several cities. We have 132 units at the Stanton Inn and Suites and the Tahiti Motel. And then currently, there are other projects that are up and running and providing interim housing for those in need until such time as they can be converted to permanent housing. And then we've got Project Home Key. There's rounds 2 and 3. Rounds 2 and 3 of Project Home Key, the state included about $1.45 billion. So they really increased the number, so $800 to $1.45 billion. They realized this is a great way to get permanent supportive housing online very, very quickly. When you talk about building housing, and we know how difficult it is in the state, ground-up construction, CEQA, so if you're along the coast, California Coastal Commission, takes a long, long time. So if you can take an existing motel or hotel and convert it very quickly into permanent supportive housing, it's a great way to go. So they allocated a lot of funding, and in the 2021-22 year, $1.45 billion, and $1.3 billion will be allocated in the 22-23 year. So hopefully we'll get a lot of substantial funding from the state, and we can continue working with the cities collaboratively and converting a lot of those motels and hotels over to permanent supportive housing. So Orange County was grouped in the same area as Ventura, San Bernardino, Riverside, and Imperial County. So the money comes to us regionally, and they've allocated so much per region. And $123 million was set aside for this particular region. So we've got applications in. And together with the developers as co-applicants, the county submitted applications for 3 projects. The Huntington Beach Oasis project, 64 units. The Riviera Motel, which is 21 units. And a Motel 6, which is 88 units. And all 3 projects have been awarded funding totaling $33.7 million. So again, getting more of these converted quickly and getting people into those units with wraparound services. So we've got 42 miles in Orange County along our coast, a lot of which now is in the 5th District. So switching gears, I want to talk about coastal resiliency. Our shoreline serves as a coastal and critical infrastructure for the state's economy, providing an economic engine for recreation, tourism, ocean-related employment, while also protecting billions of dollars of both public and private investment. Much of the California's beautiful shoreline is unfortunately eroding. Recent studies have shown that Southern California has the highest erosion rates in the state. We need both short-term and long-term solutions to preserve and protect our coastline. To address these issues, I created the South Orange County Coastal Resiliency Working Group, which brings together key stakeholders to create a South County Regional Coastal Resiliency Strategy Plan. And really important to have a plan in place because we need to have short-term and long-term planning. It's not just a matter of fortifying the coast by putting sand replenishment. That lasts for a while, but as we know, it's not permanent, it's not long-term. We had our first meeting in December and a second meeting a couple of months later, and I'm really confident that through these deliberations, we're going to put together a plan that identifies some real solutions to preserve and protect our coastline and meet the needs of our communities. We literally have homes and businesses along the coast that are getting jeopardized to the point where during high tide, the waves, the water is actually splashing into their backyards or their decks or their living rooms. And we've also got railroad tracks that are getting impacted as well. So we really need to keep a focus on this and make sure that we work with all the stakeholders for that coastal resiliency plan. So moving on to something that is also near and dear to all of us is the nuclear power plant, the Songs plant. And we've got the two dome-shaped facilities that when you drive down south to I-5 down to San Diego, people always say, what are those? And if they don't know, we've got to let them know that used to be a nuclear power plant in our neighborhood. So the process is moving very, very slowly. So San Diego Supervisor Jim Desmond and I, we serve as co-chairs of the newly formed Action for Spent Fuel Solutions Now coalition. And it's a coalition of a broad-based set of stakeholders, agencies, elected officials, environmental groups, business leaders, and other community members. And we're really focused to push the federal government to provide the off-site storage on a permanent or interim basis, on a consent basis as well, for the spent fuel that's at Songs. So we've got about 130 canisters right now with spent fuel that are above ground at Songs, and we really want to get them moved. Until we get them moved, it does pose a risk to the public. There are other nuclear sites across the state and nation that are waiting to get decommissioned as well. There are probably 30 sites across the nation that are in different stages of decommissioning. We've got about 5 or 6 right here in California. And I think you probably heard the governor wants to extend the Diablo Canyon for a little bit longer because it's still operational. We know we're going to have an energy crisis coming up with the weather, and we don't want to get in the situation we did years ago. We actually had a governor recalled because we ran out of electricity and we had to buy it at a very expensive rate from another state. Taxpayers didn't like it, and they went to the ballot box. So we want to be proactive. Since 1998, the federal government has been required by law to take possession and dispose the spent nuclear fuel, and they are moving very slow. So 20 years later, the nuclear fuel still sits there, and we're still waiting. So Southern California Edison, they can't even complete their decommissioning process and return the land to the federal government until that nuclear fuel is removed off-site. In March, the coalition responded to a request for information from the Department of Energy on how to site the federal facilities for the temporary consolidated storage of spent nuclear fuel, and they want to use a very consistent approach for this. The coalition also we've had a very productive meeting with Dr. Catherine Huff, the Assistant Secretary for the Office of Nuclear Energy at the Department of Energy, and as well as Energy Secretary Jennifer Granholm, who recently visited Songs. We have a unique set of circumstances, unlike some of the other nuclear power plants that don't have anything around them, where they are around the country. We have unique circumstance in that we have millions of residents that live right in the area. We only have one freeway in and out of the area. We have a lot of earthquake fault zones. So we have a lot of unusual conditions that really should raise our nuclear power plant songs up on the list when it comes time to get those spent fuel rods moved. Because the plant is not just in some isolated area along the coast. But we're really grateful to meet with the opportunity, or really grateful for the opportunity to meet with the folks from the DOE, and they were very receptive. They've come and taken tours, and I think they understand that this is a priority for all of us here in South County and certainly North San Diego County as well. So moving on to some development projects, we've got two major development projects that are really important, and one is the Dana Point Harbor Revitalization Project and the Laguna Niguel City Center Project. So if you can't tell, I'm really excited about these projects. They're both P3 projects, public-private partnerships, and this is a great example of the county working with the private sector. Letting government do what it does best, keeping government small, efficient, accountable, and transparent, and letting the private sector, they've got the expertise to put forth great projects, and they've got the ability to do things a lot quicker. So on Dana Point, we've entered into a 66-year lease with the P3 partner, the Dana Point Harbor Partners, and they're going to revitalize and manage the harbor in a 5 to 7 year time frame. The county would have taken forever. And this is a $400 million project. So when I got elected, I said, how are we going to pay for this project? And the county doesn't build boat docks. And we decided, the best thing to do is to bring in that private sector partner. So we've got a great team with Burnham Ward, Bellwether Financial, and R.D. Olson for the land side, the water side, and the hotel component. The component for the parking structure, we're always short on parking everywhere. We're going to have a 3-tiered parking structure, and that should start in a couple months. So we're really anxious to get that underway. The county retains ownership under this lease agreement, and the partners will invest their own capital to design, develop, and maintain the entire area for the duration of the lease. The project will provide a consistent revenue stream for the county, and all money generated in the harbor stays in the harbor to fund the critical programs and services that we need. Also, that money goes into the Tidelands Trust. The planning and design process has really been first class, and they've incorporated a tremendous amount of input from the community. So look forward to that project breaking ground. You'll see that parking structure coming to fruition starting in a couple of months. Next, I want to talk about the Laguna Niguel City Center project. It's located at Crown Valley Parkway and Alicia Parkway. If you know where the old 22-acre courthouse site was in that area, that's where the new project will be. And I'm, again, really excited about this project because for the city of Laguna Niguel, like a lot of cities, you want to have that city center, that town center, where everybody can come together. And we've always needed that in Laguna Niguel, but we've never had anything come to fruition. So the mixed-use project will create a true downtown environment, something that Laguna Niguel residents have been longing for quite some time. And the project will have a lot of different great features: specialty retail, restaurants, office space. It'll be community-oriented and programmable spaces as well. It'll also include a new, larger, state-of-the-art county library, and we've worked very cooperatively with the Friends of the Library to get all those great components in there. It'll be designed to provide students, families, seniors a place to gather and learn and share ideas through the modern technologies. So this will be the first ground-up, brand-new library in the county. We're currently refurbishing a lot of libraries throughout the county, but this will be the first ground-up construction, and they're going to have state-of-the-art everything in it: indoor-outdoor space, coffee bars, and technology centers, and so on. So stay tuned for this project. The review period for the draft environmental impact report just ended on April the 29th, and the project is expected to come to the City Council for approval in the June-July timeframe. Both of these projects will give the economy and workforce the boost it needs to get back on track. The beauty of P3 projects is that government does what it does best, the private sector comes in, and it creates literally thousands of private sector jobs. So it's a great boost to the local economy. So not only will the cities of Dana Point and Laguna Niguel benefit from having world-class facilities in their backyard, so both projects are financed without incurring any public debt. The revenue generated from the sales tax will go to the cities of Laguna Niguel and Dana Point. And both projects will provide a continued revenue stream to the county for the duration of the lease. So again, long-term leases. And somebody was asking me, 66 years or 50 years, that sounds like a long time. But you know, when you've got a $400 million project, or a $100 million project or a $500 million project, it takes a long time from the time you invest and build everything up to starting to get revenue to be able to pay everything off. So it makes a lot of sense to have the long-term lease, and they're responsible for all of the maintenance obligations and operational aspects during that entire time. So I look forward to both of these projects coming to fruition. And we also have our Civic Center master plan, again, on a P3 basis, and we've got more and more things coming around the county. So stay tuned for those announcements as well. So moving on to transportation. During my tenure on the Board of Supervisors, literally billions of dollars have been invested in the 5th District, and we really feel that now when you're on the freeway, our only one freeway that we have down here in South County. So again, South County is different than the other parts of the district where you've got the 22 and the 55 and the 57 and the 91 and the 60. We have the I-405, which turns into the I-5, and that's it. So we have to think creatively about how we can keep people moving around. We've got a lot of homes being built out in Rancho Mission Viejo, and we have a lot of people moving into the area. So we always want to look at how can we improve mobility, ease traffic congestion, maintain our streets and roads, enhance transit, and support environmental stewardship. The freeway projects, we have $900 million that's been invested in freeway improvements. $233 million specifically in the I-5 improvements between Avenida Pico and San Juan Creek Road. Another $580 million in improvements between El Toro and the SR-73, and $80 million for the Ortega interchange. We've got $37 million that was just allocated from OCTA to bring it all the way up on the Ortega interchange up to the construction phase. The $580 million between El Toro Road and the 73, that is in 3 phases. And so segment 1, which is from the 73 to Oso Parkway, that one is 53% complete, and that segment will be fully completed by late 2024, so hang in there a couple more years. Segment 2, which runs from Oso Parkway to Alicia Parkway, it was constructed starting in May 2019. That one is 65% complete, and that will be completed in early 2024. And the third segment, which is Alicia Parkway to El Toro Road, started in 2021, and it's 31% complete, and that's expected to be complete in late 2024. On the El Toro Interchange project, additional alternatives are being reviewed and will be presented to the surrounding cities later this month. So if you're familiar with the El Toro Interchange, you've got Rockfield, El Toro Road. If you're heading south on the I-5 and you want to get off at El Toro, especially at night, it's really treacherous because you've got a triple left turn. And I can't tell you how many times I've always almost been hit, because when you're turning, and it's not just a little turn like that, it's kind of like an S turn where you've got to go like this to get into one of those 3 left turn lanes to get out to El Toro Road. So we're going to completely redo that area. We've got a new project, the Merlone-Geyer project is going to be coming to fruition. It was approved by the City Council recently. We're really excited about that. That is the old Laguna Hills Mall footprint, and that entire area is going to be reimagined with something really great. You're going to have residences there. You'll have retail, commercial, no industrial. You'll have, I think, maybe a hotel. So you're going to have some great new improvements there. But with all of that construction and more people milling around the area, we need to improve the interchange. So we have a couple of different options that are being run right now through Laguna Hills, Lake Forest, and Laguna Woods. And then when it comes to streets and roads, maintaining local streets and roads, another $222 million was invested to improve mobility and repair local streets and roads in the district. And from April of 2011 through December of last year, $88 million in Measure M2 funds have been dispersed to cities to use as transportation enhancements of their choice. So people who aren't familiar with Measure M2, it's the half-cent sales tax. We had Measure M1, and we ran through that, through its timeline. And then the voters said, yes, we want to continue to maintain our roads and highways, so they voted for M2. And that will go into well into the future. And that's really important. I mean, I hear from people all the time, we can always tell when we cross the county line into Orange County because the roads are really good and our highways are good and they're well maintained. And that's really important because when you talk about the state highway fund that is supposed to do all of these improvements on the state highways, there's something like, I don't know, $1 trillion in arrears or something. There's just not enough funding at the state level. And part of that has to do with the state excise tax for gas, both at the state and federal level. It's a declining revenue source, and you don't want to get me started on that. But because it's supposed to fund all of these great improvements, and we're getting less and less dollars every month. So if we're already backlogged on projects and we're getting less money, how are we going to move things forward? But there are ways to work through that, and I think some people have some great ideas for a replacement for the gas tax long term. Looking at transit and the environment, $162 million was invested in station amenities and track improvements and grade crossing and quiet zones. Community-based transit circulator projects. So you've probably seen a lot of the trolleys in the cities, and those are great. They're free trolleys. It's Project V with OCTA. OCTA pays for 90% of the project, and the cities pay the 10%. And it's just really been great, and I've been able to connect a lot of my cities with the trolley connectors. So you literally can go from Laguna Beach to Dana Point, to San Clemente, to San Juan Capistrano, all on trolleys. And then we're connecting in with Laguna Niguel to the train station and so on. So if we can connect all the cities together, you won't even have to get in your car down the road. You just go to the first stop and get on a trolley. We also have senior mobility programs to enable older adults to get around and get to the senior centers. And they can also participate in nutritional and other programs there. And then always looking at environmental stewardship, because we've got to be good friends of the environment as well. One thing we have in place now is the cooperative agreement between the county, OCTA, and San Clemente. That's a significant accomplishment in the transportation arena, and that was signed recently between those three parties. And it recognizes the needs for local solutions rather than state legislation to addressing our transportation needs on a local basis. So we spearheaded a working group, and we've got that cooperative agreement signed. And some of the main goals of that have to do with the City of San Clemente's support for the Los Patrones Parkway extension, which will run from Cow Camp Road over Ortega Highway and then go right through Planning Area 5 in Rancho Mission Viejo, stay below the ridge line so we're not impacting view corridors, and then connect into La Pata on the San Clemente side. And this agreement provides that San Clemente will support that project, because without the support, they could take it out of their general plan and we'd be in trouble. We wouldn't have a connection point. So the support was really critical. But it provides for those major projects in South County. So the three major projects that we've got in South County, the Ortega Widening Project, the Los Patrones Parkway Extension, and then the continuation of the HOV lane from Avenida Pico to the San Diego County line. And San Diego's working on their end to create their HOV lane improvements coming up to the Orange County line. But a lot of people have wondered for a long time, and there's been a lot of consternation relative to, oh, are you going to run a toll road through my community? And that's why this cooperative agreement was so important, because it really it solidifies things for the future to let people know, no, these three major projects that are slated, that's what we're going to have. We're not going to have a project that's going to be running through someone's built-out community. So it gives people peace of mind. So OCTA is in the process of wrapping up its South Orange County multimodal transportation study that addresses the needs down here in South County through 2045, and will provide for recommendations for all modes of transportation, including streets, transit, freeways, and also bikeways. And then moving on to the environment, a few weeks ago we celebrated Earth Day, and each and every one of us has an opportunity to try to reduce our carbon footprint. And one of the ways we can do that is by leveraging the resources available through the Orange County's Waste and Recycling Department. This is one of our 28 or so departments of the county, and they do a fantastic job. Down in our 5th district, we have Prima de Checa landfill. And I had the privilege of opening up the Capistrano Greenery at the landfill. This is the green waste composting facility that was built in response to new state legislation that mandates changes in organic waste management. The composting operation is going to divert the use of green waste it's already been bringing into the landfill. And so instead of the landfill having to deal with things, the Capistrano Greenery operation will compost, distribute, and reuse it at off-site locations for soil amendment and for erosion control. The process will divert waste away from the landfill and provide additional capacity there at the landfill for the future. So to date, the Orange County Waste and Recycling Department, they've successfully converted all the heavy equipment to renewable diesel, cutting emissions by 60%. And if you look at the screen, you'll see a list of the resource recovery and preservation highlights for last year, including powering 7,000 homes with renewable electricity. Moving on to AQMD, so up until recently, I had the pleasure of serving on the South Coast Air Quality Management District Governing Board. And in the 3 years I served on the board, we made significant investments in technology and programs that helped pave the way for a cleaner future. In 2020 alone, nearly $139 million was invested in innovative clean air initiatives, resulting in a significant amount of equipment being upgraded or replaced, and the reduction of more than 580 tons of nitrogen oxide emissions per year. When you think about clean air, it's so, so important, and it has not always been that way in our air quality management district. I remember when I was working in the private sector, we were at Toledo and Alton. We had the first corporate headquarters in the Irvine Spectrum. And I was giving a legal secretary applicant who I was going to interview directions. So I said, when you get off the freeway, turn towards the mountains and then come up to this street and make a left. And she called me and she said, I'm off the freeway and I don't see any mountains. Where are the mountains? The air quality in the 80s was so bad that on days you could not tell where the Saddleback Mountains were. And you look at them now, and on any given day, you can see where the Saddleback Mountains are. So the clean air initiatives have made a significant impact and a great positive impact over the years. So environmental protection has always been a real priority for me. Using a balanced, common sense approach, we can make everything great in the environment for future generations. So switching gears over to OC Parks, I'd like to share with you some of the projects that OC Parks has been working on. And these projects are necessary for the maintenance and upkeep of our infrastructure and facilities, but they rarely captivate the hearts of the public. Sewer lift station replacement, it's not really sexy to talk about that. Slope repairs, vegetation, and silt removal are not exactly projects that a lot of residents are going to ooh and ah over, but they are a necessary and critical part of the park's infrastructure. There is one project, however, that's received a lot of accolades, and that came online last year. It's the Aliso and Wood Canyon Visitor Center, and if you haven't been there, you've got to go. It's amazing, and the trails in that area are spectacular. The center opened in May, and it's been a great success with the community. The 2,600 square foot center features a public space with reception, display areas for visitors to learn more about the park and its surroundings, along with restrooms. The center features interactive exhibits, and many are designed to be child-friendly. A great wraparound deck with an observation extension encourages visitors to relax and really take in the beautiful scenery. So I highly recommend, if you haven't been, go take a look there and visit and walk the trails as well. So in closing, it's been great to represent the 5th District on the Orange County Board of Supervisors for the past 8 years. And of course, due to term limits, this is my last year in office. It's really been an honor and a privilege to serve all of you, to serve our cities and our unincorporated areas. And I just hope that everything I've done has had a really positive impact on the community at large. And I'm just very grateful for the opportunity to serve. People who know me know I'm really passionate about public service. I was a corporate executive for many, many years. Never thought I would be a politician. And I always tell people, never say never, because you never know where your path is going to lead. And I kind of fell into politics because I woke up one day and I was talking to my neighbor and I said, 20 years ago, you told me we were going to get a new town center and a harbor, and nothing has happened. And she said, well, run for council then and get those projects moving. And that's what I did. So I literally traded business suits for standing on a street corner at 7 in the morning in sweats, holding up a sign that says, vote for me. and got elected to council, got those projects moving forward. And that's when I realized you can do so much in government. People think that government moves slow. It's not always, but it takes good leadership to make things happen. And that's where we need to really build a good bench with succession planning and encourage good people. If you have an opportunity and you have the time and you're so inclined, think about running for local office, your local city council, the water board, the school board. Try to get engaged, because you can be out there as an elected leader really making a difference out there in the community. So do give it some thought. And what I'd like to do right now is I'd like to call up my Chief of Staff, James Dinwiddie. He's not expecting this, but today is his last day in my board office. He just got a great position at our Orange County Community Resources Department. So today is his last day, and I want to be able to bring him up and really thank him. We always do proclamations, and we're not going to be in the office today because we're all down here, so I thought what greater opportunity than to call him up and embarrass him and give him a proclamation for the great service. So please join me in thanking James. Whoa. I forgot I'm on a stand here. Okay. Here we go. Okay.
I'm gonna turn bright red.
So
God.
now I'm going to take 48 minutes to read all of this. No, I'm just kidding. James, just from the bottom of my heart. James started with me when I got elected in 2014. He was actually carried over from the prior supervisor and was in the board office. And he was my last hire when I was working on staff. I said, I don't know this person, but I think I have great faith in him, and I think he can really do well. He's smart and resourceful. So I brought him in to my board office as kind of a policy aide. And then over the last 7.5 years, he's gone from policy aide to policy advisor to senior policy advisor to deputy chief of staff, and now to chief of staff, and now he's leaving my board office. So I just want to thank him from the bottom of my heart, because I could not have done my job without James all these 8 years that you've been by my side, and just thank you so very much, and wish you the best in your future endeavors in another county department. So, I know that Sergio wants to take a picture. Okay. So do we have part 2 of my presentation, the other 50 minutes? Just kidding. Just kidding. So do we want to open it up to some quick questions? No. Okay, I'm okay with that.
I think we're about 5 minutes away from the end of the program today.
Okay, no questions?
Okay, but we would like to thank you on behalf of all that have participated in this event. They'd like to give you this little token of appreciation to you.
Thank you so
Thank you very
much.
much, Supervisor.
Really
We appreciate
it.
everything.
Thank you, Dwayne.
And as we're closing today, I'll tell you, as you heard about all the projects and programs and things going on, did you ever imagine that so much was going on within the 5th District? It's really, truly amazing. And when you look at Orange County, you look at, we have 3.2 million people here in Orange County, and that's as of the last census. And so each supervisor has 600,000 people that they're representing. And when you look at that number, 600,000 is more than 2 different states that they have for population. And so those states are Vermont and Wyoming. So you're representing more than the governors of those states, and it's really pretty amazing. You've done a great job. Let's give Supervisor Bartlett another round of applause. So a couple more things before we leave here. One is the centerpiece giveaway. And so the centerpieces that you have before you are from my friends, our friends at El Toro Water District. They did a great job with these. So if you look at your program, if you have an orange dot on that, that means that you get the centerpiece and get to take that home. If nobody has an orange dot on there, it's arm wrestling. We're going to do arm wrestling to do it. So, and there's a couple different ones there. So thank you very much, El Toro Water District. And I'd also like to thank our vendors. We have Rancho Capistrano Winery that brought your lunch today. Let's give them a hand. Rancho Capistrano Winery. Today's program is being videotaped, and we have Communications Lab. Thank you very much, Communications Lab. They do an outstanding job. A very special thank you to the City of Laguna Niguel for having this facility. Isn't it beautiful? It's a beautiful facility. Thank you, Laguna Niguel. And then we want to thank each and every one of our sponsors that we talked about earlier today. So thank you for your help. If not, we could not have had this great event. And then most important, we want to thank each and every one of you for attending here today and participating. I hope you have a great day. Go out there and have fun. Cinco de Mayo, enjoy it. We'll see you later. Thank you.